Championship rings and things what we about. Competition out, down for the count. DFDUBB's about stacked in our clout. No slack in our game, that's without doubt. Every snap, every pass, every running route. Every play of every game, man, we gon' scout. Players might rise and fall and then bust. DFDUBB provides it all you can trust. Trophies on the mantle, dubs on the panel. Opponents can't stand it, don't change the channel. Sit back, relax, take notes for a bit. DFDUBB Scrubs on the throne winning ships. DFDUBB Scrubs come
All right. Welcome to DFDUBB Scrubs Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Alex, along with Nambo, Christian, and Turtle, our producer in the background, Turtle Valdez. All right, guys. It's been a while. Sorry we didn't get to our tight end episode. Trust me, that would have been fire. You would not have taken Kyle Pitts in the third round had y'all listened to that take. But we do got something special for y'all. We got targets and fades in this episode. We're going to go down about every 3 rounds, give y'all people that we're very interested in, who we have high hopes, value very much, and then people that we kind of fade from their ADP. At least that's the way I went about it. So it's not like I completely am not going to draft these players just at their current position that they're being drafted. I'd rather wait, maybe a round or, a few spots. I just may take some players ahead of them. But before we get into that, let's catch up with some news. We got some preseason games that just started. What you got now, Bo?
So we got Zach Wilson. He's not like super fantasy relevant, honestly, in my opinion, but hey, to each their own, right? He's looking like he's gonna miss about 2 to 4 weeks with a bone bruise and a meniscus tear. So that kind of throws a wrench into the Jets' start of the season. You got Drake London. He suffered a knee injury in the first preseason game. It doesn't sound like it's super serious, so probably not too much to worry about, but it is something to kind of keep your eye on. One thing that the Jets did do to kind of help their team out is they picked up a 5-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle, Dwayne Brown, to replace Becton going down. So, I mean, maybe that helps out for the running backs in that scenario. Melvin Gordon's been dealing with a foot contusion. They're not really saying it's going to be, detrimental to the season, but something honestly to kind of keep your eye on. He is, getting up there in age. Those injuries tend to catch up to you after a while. Rashod Penny is dealing with a groin issue. Shocker. No surprise there, really. Penny, he just he never seems to stay fully healthy. I don't know. Always something every year, whether it's the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. Penny's usually hurt at some point.
Yeah. Very talented, though.
You got a big deal. I mean, personally, because it affects my NFL team, James White announced his retirement. So that kind of clears up the backfield. Not really.
I thought something had happened to Zeke for a second.
Oh, get out of here, bro! Get out of here. Russell Gage had a foot injury. I don't know how detrimental that's going to be for this season, but I mean, he was already kind of losing his spots on the ADP charts with them signing Julio Jones. So I mean, we'll see how that goes through preseason and into the season. But Winston's day-to-day right now with a sprained foot. He'll probably be good to go by the time week 1 gets around. And then you got Stafford dealing with a case of bad tendonitis in his throwing elbow. They don't seem like they're 100% concerned about it, but me personally, I took it as like I don't know, kind of Big Ben-ish. It's his throwing hand. He's taken a beating his whole career, so like it might be that time in his career where all those beatings he took for the last few years is catching up to him. So I don't know if I feel like that could be a real bad news for the reigning Super Bowl champs going into this season. Other than that, I mean, I didn't really have anything too crazy. Do y'all have anything? Any of you guys have anything to add or anything?
Well, about just building on Stafford here, do you think that affects Cooper Kupp or Allen Robinson at all?
100%.
Would you
I mean,
downgrade
that's
him a
his.
little bit?
I maybe downgrade A-Rob maybe a little bit. Not too much Cooper Kupp because they're gonna force feed him the ball regardless. But I mean, maybe throw a question mark out there for taking him. Over somebody like Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry, something like that. Like, I mean, without a fully healthy Stafford, how good is Cooper Kupp?
We don't know.
Pretty good.
That's what I'm
But not,
saying. Like, we don't.
top 5 good.
Nah, he was a good receiver. He was not what he was last year.
Yeah.
No, not by any means. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
From what I read on it, it sounds like it's something he could deal with for the season. Like he probably won't miss any time, but they're talking about basically, keeping his reps kind of low. So they're gonna throw the ball less from basically what I read, and so yeah, he could be dealing with it for the whole season before he gets it taken care of at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I guess it's something. I mean, if it affects him throughout the season and he can't, throw the way he wants to, that's definitely, hits those wide receivers, man. We'll find out in a few weeks when the actual, people actually really start drafting for their fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
But you guys got anything else to talk about? Are y'all good?
Keep it moving. I'm good.
All right. Let's get into these targets and fades. We're gonna start with Christian. Who you targeting in the first 3 rounds, man?
It's my guy Michael Pittman. This dude's looking like he's gonna be a star in the league. He's 6'4", 220. He's not just the type of guy that's gonna, go out there and win a jump ball, or deep field threat, which he is. But he's an elite route runner. Matt Harmon's reception perception has him, 74% success rate versus man, 84 versus zone, 82 versus press, which are all like, top in the league. He was third in route wins last year. He's an elite route runner. He's going into his third season, breakout season for wide receivers. He's getting an elite target share. He got 26% last season, which when you factor all that in with the quarterback upgrade, from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, and like it's a big upgrade. There's some people out there who are saying it's not that big, but it's a massive upgrade. Just to put it in perspective, Pittman was 58 in quality target rate, 44th in catchable target rate, while Russell Gage was 30th in quality target rate, 20th in catchable target rate. Completion percentages, Ryan was 11th in play action completion percentage compared to Wentz's 29th. Pressured completion percentage, 4th to 28th. True completion percentage, 11th to 28th. It's just a huge gap right there in those numbers. It's a massive upgrade. And then also just there's nobody out there to throw the ball to really except for Michael Pittman. He has less target competition than CeeDee Lamb. Do y'all know who the second wide receiver is on the Colts?
Alec Pierce, maybe? Zach
Alex.
Pascal? No.
Paris Campbell still there, or he get traded?
Yeah, there you go.
He
Paris
went.
Campbell.
Paris Campbell. That's who that. It's probably going to end up being Alec Pierce, but Paris Campbell's who's on like the depth chart, and he's played in 15 out of the last 47 games. I'm all in on Pittman this year.
Yeah, no, he should be good. I mean, I think everybody has him having that breakout season this year.
Yeah.
But not too bad. So would you? We'll go into that later. All right. So my particular target, who I think is rising, is Alvin Kamara. Now, this probably goes without saying at this point, but there was a point where he was going, maybe into the third round, early third round, late second. I know we're doing a slow draft right now. Christian kind of scooped him up towards what pick was that?
Towards the end of the second. I got the 5th pick, and I picked him up in the second. So
yeah. So I mean, some recent news came out that it's looking more more likely that he's going to play the whole season. And if depending how comfortable you are with that, I know I'm starting to get more comfortable with it. I mean, he may move into the end of the first round. Because you get a fully healthy Alvin Kamara. I mean, we don't really have to go into any stats about him. Everybody knows what Alvin Kamara. He's been a RB1 every year he's been in the league. You get a fully healthy Alvin Kamara, and man, he's definitely. I'll take him ahead of Kelsey, ahead of Joe Mixon. You can guarantee he's playing the whole season. There's a lot. I maybe even take him before the receivers because he gets a lot of work. So I don't know. You guys got any thoughts on him?
I agree. You know, they're keep pushing this date back. I'm feeling more and more comfortable with him playing the whole season. It's looking like he's not going to face any suspension until next season. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I agree. He's a steal.
I think he has a chance to move into the late first round, early second round, depending what news comes out. But it's looking unlikely that he's gonna miss any time, at least this year. And you know, if you're doing redraft, nobody cares about next year.
Exactly.
All right. So, Nabo, who you anybody in particular you're targeting in the first 3 rounds?
So first 3 rounds, I'm honestly going after James Conner, man. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. Everybody was kind of like, oh, you know, James Conner, he can't stay healthy, can't do this. Look what he did with the Steelers. Like, boy was a madman last year, right? Like, he's gonna step into the workhorse role again this year. In weeks 9 through 14. He never played less than 77% of the snaps, averaged about 21 touches a game, finished a RB2 essentially, or at RB2 for those that what was it, 5-game span, behind only Jonathan Taylor. So, I mean, that's pretty fucking good company to be in with. I mean, like I said, he's going to be the workhorse. They lost Chase Edmonds, so without him, there's really nobody else on the in the backfield to really garnish any of those like really anybody pending to like cut into his workload essentially. The coaching staff has basically come out and said Cliffsbury, ain't it Cliffsbury, whatever his name is, has said this year, going into this season, they're actually really impressed with his catching abilities. He's really, going a long ways. I mean, if they involve him more in the passing game, like it seems like they want to, easy RB1 status right there. I mean, he finished RB5 last year for the season. So why people are sleeping on him, not too sure. Like, dude's a monster. I mean, the Cardinals were 8th in red zone rush rate last year. He had 15 rushing touchdowns. I don't really see much of a digression in that, just because when they get in close to the goal line, why not hand it off to the big back instead of having Kyle Murray potentially try to run it in? He is a small guy, so I mean, more potential for him to get hit. Like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing some more passing down work, but even without the passing down work, I mean, he's still top 5 running back. So I mean, I'm definitely looking after James Conner over the likes of like Zeke and who else was going around him.
So he's going to like in the middle rounds. Yeah, who are you? In the middle of third round.
So
Or
I mean,
beginning
I
of
would be,
third round.
I would be even I would even be looking to maybe take him towards some in the second round. I mean, I would be more than glad to take him in the second round over
Saquon or James Conner.
I think
Just
I would
real
want
quick.
James Conner all the way.
Leonard Fournette.
James Conner, bro.
Javonte Williams.
James Conner.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
He did have a lot of touchdowns last year. What do you think about him, Christian? How you feel about him?
I just think it's crazy. He was one of my easiest fades just because I don't think they want to have a workhorse role down there. Yeah, he had a monstrous like 4 or 5 game stretch right there where he was averaging like 26 points per game. But they don't want to throw him the ball. They want to run it back by committee. 5 out of the 9 games he played with Chase Edmonds, he scored 10 or less points. Edmonds is gone. But they brought in Darrell Williams, who he shines in the passing game. You know, he was fourth in yards per reception at a running backs last year, sixth in catch rate. He only had one drop. They brought him in to take over that role. I feel like, and yeah, I do think he'll still score a ton of touchdowns. I mean, he even before Chase Edmonds was gone, he was on pace for a 16 touchdown season. But I think that's what he'll be. I think he'll be boom or bust with a lot more bust than boom. And it's nothing against him. I think he's a great player, but man, he was averaging 11.5 points per game before Edmonds was gone. He was getting a 2% target share. It's and just the guys around him, I'd much rather have than him. I mean, all those guys that A-Rod just named, it's not even a question for me. I'm taking them over on Zeke. Those wide receivers that are going in that range, Mike Evans, Allen. I'd take Mike Williams over him. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Nobody asked, but thank you for that input right there.
Nobody asked what? You did ask. I thought about it. Do you want me to let you ask me some names? Go ahead. Come on, man.
And just to add another thing, like he had a fully healthy season last year. He is kind of known for injury prone, so we'll see how that goes out. Okay. So yeah, James Conner, you could go either way. Another guy that's kind of falling down the boards is the David Montgomery. How you feel about him, Nambo?
Honestly, I'm not that high on David Montgomery. Like his whole situation over there with the Bears, like the Bears is just anybody on the Bears team is kind of scary to touch. Besides maybe Darnell Mooney. Yeah, he shredded defenses last year, but when he was shredding defenses, they were like meh. They were mediocre at best. Dude does have a new offensive coordinator coming into the system from Green Bay. And when the offensive coordinator was over there with Green Bay, Jones never saw over 60% of the opportunity shares. So, I mean, that should be a big cause for concern. They got Herbert, Khalil Herbert, who they really, really like. They've been talking him a lot up this offseason and through training camp so far. So he's expected to take a lot of that work, cut into a lot of his work. Herbert last year finished RB1 two times out of the few games that Monty missed. So I mean that should be a good sign for him if your backup's putting up RB1 numbers. I mean that should be something to kind of look out for in your later rounds potentially, because Monty goes down, then you got yourself a stud as a handcuff. Honestly, there's just a lot better options too as to taking him where he's technically going. I mean, you got, of course, James Conner, who I'm really high on, DJ Moore, Breece Hall. I mean, take Zeke over him even. There's a lot of players that you could take that is going to have better upside and probably safer consistency week in and week out than taking David Montgomery at the beginning end of the third round.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing with that.
No, would y'all ever feel comfortable taking him? Like, is he like just a complete avoid, or like how far would he need to drop?
No, definitely not a complete avoid. It'd definitely be. I mean, he'd have to go in the he's going after like Melvin Gordon, after Tony Pollard for me. I don't feel comfortable with them. Yeah.
Like I said,
I'd definitely
take
like Jalen Hurts before him.
I think I want Darnell Mooney if I want any Bears players off that team.
Oh, for sure. And that's a risk too. But
yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully Justin Fields pulls it off. Mooney looks good.
I mean, shit, he had 1,000 yards receiving last year with Fields. So
yeah, no, you're right. But another guy we're fading here in the first 3 rounds. This may be popular, may be unpopular. Maybe people might jump on with me. Is Mr. Javonte Williams. I just don't really get it right now. I mean, obviously, I get it. You can't argue. Another guy, you cannot argue the talent. He was RB17 last year, though. He was RB17 overall last year in PPR, RB26 in points per game. at 12.1, and he's currently being taken at the mid to late second round. That's 76 spots ahead of a Mr. Melvin Gordon right now, who finished ahead of Javonte Williams last year at 12.2.
Yeah.
And it's not much, but he still finished ahead of him. And overall, he only finished with 9 less points than Javonte with 1 less game. So they already said this year that they re-signed Melvin Gordon. They're gonna try to do the same thing they did last year, run it back with a better quarterback. Nobody cares about your damn fantasy team, right? Especially not the NFL coaches. They're trying to win games. They don't care if Javonte or Melvin Gordon, because Melvin Gordon, he looked good last year. It's not
He
like
did.
they were putting him out there and there was an obvious what's the word I'm looking for? There wasn't an obvious difference between Javonte and Melvin Gordon last year. Melvin Gordon held his own. He still definitely has plenty of juice. I don't get it. I don't get the Javonte Williams hype. I know he's talented. Obviously, if he had that backfield to himself, he'd be a first-round pick, but he doesn't. So what are y'all doing taking him in the second round? I'm okay. It's not a complete fade, obviously. I'd probably he's definitely dropping into the mid third round, maybe even later. But I would be completely shocked if I have any shares of Javonte Williams this year. It's just not gonna happen. I'd much rather have Melvin Gordon in round 8. All right. Y'all got any thoughts on that, or y'all good to go?
I'm in agreement with you on that one. I mean, they were exactly 50-50 last year. I'm with you. I don't understand why everybody's so high on him. Like, I get the talent. He's young, but he's sharing like the backfield 50-50 with Melvin Gordon right now.
I think even in the share though, he could produce where he's being taken at. I feel like it's a ceiling. Oh, he
in the second round.
In that late second round, he's being taken as like the 13th running back off the board. He finished at 17, which I feel like is his floor. You know, he was 50-50 split last year.
But
they brought Melvin Gordon back. They got a better offense. One of the offenses that are supposed to be one of the better ones in the league this year. More scoring opportunities. But I agree. I do think he's being taken a little bit early, but it's not like too much. Got more of a problem with Melvin Gordon being taken that late.
No. Hey, you're more than happy to take him ahead of me. I'm fine. I'm hoping I'm drafting right behind you. Another guy that we're targeting in the next couple rounds is Mr. AJ Dillon, though. How y'all feeling about AJ Dillon, Christian?
Yeah, I'm feeling like he is an absolute value. Like, he's being drafted at his floor, or even lower than his floor, possibly. You know, he finished last year as the RB23. Right now, he's being taken as the 26th running back off the board. You know, weeks 10 through 18, he was the RB12 on the season. He had the 3rd highest rushing grade per Pro Football Focus. Inside the 10, he outtouched Jones 22-19. It was pretty close, but he's getting those money touches. And he's not completely ignored in the passing game. You know, he was getting about a 6.5% target share. It's about 3 targets per game. I know it's not game changing, but it's better than being completely ignored like some of these other backs. It was close to a 60-40 split last season. I can see it, you know, coming closer to 50-50 and a lot of 2-back sets. Dillon and Jones are easily the most talented players on that offense, not named Rodgers. Not to mention Dillon has, you know, potential league-winning upside if Jones were to go down. I can't imagine a way that he doesn't, at the bare minimum, return the investment of where he's being taken at, you know?
No, I completely agree. I think he's a very safe pick. He's definitely one of those 0 RB guys or hero RB guys. That's definitely somebody you want to target and get on your team. Yeah, AJ Dillon, man, he should be pretty solid. Very Javonte Williams-esque. All right, so Nambo, you're targeting a Mr. Mike Williams, right? Mike Will made it.
Heck yeah, boy. Mike Williams, bro. Mike the GOAT. Nah, he's a freak. He just got paid too this offseason. I'm loving me some Mike Williams this year. He had a career high in targets last year with 129. He had 76 receptions, over 1,000 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean, when you got somebody like Herbert throwing you the ball, I mean, I would want to come back and play for the Chargers too. Um, he's going kind of like towards the end of the or beginning of the fourth. I would almost be willing to try to reach for him if you're at the beginning of that third round. Just because most likely he is not going to be there, and then I would want as much Mike Williams as I can get. Um, he had like an up and down season. I mean, he came onto the year on fire, putting up 14, 15, 26
wow.
points. The week 4 it was kind of a low. He only put up like a point. He had like 4 catches for like 11 yards, but then he popped back off for 28 points. And then kind of fizzled out towards the middle of the season and then came back on again towards the end. So I mean, he is an up and down player, but with the offense he's on, I mean, I want all the Mike Williams I can get. I mean, he's a target on any of the drafts I'm in. He's on my top priority list is to get Mike Williams if I can and if it falls right to me.
I completely agree. I mean, he's going ahead of DK. He's going ahead of Deontay Johnson. There's people that some of the
I mean, those are like first.
not ahead.
Like
he's going behind those guys. I'm sorry.
What was it? Second round picks.
Yeah, he's going behind those guys.
Yeah, but like he should be going ahead of those guys because I mean last year a lot of those guys were going second round, something like
Terry
that.
McLaurin, would you take Mike Williams or Terry McLaurin?
Mike Williams, bro. Mike Williams,
heavily. I think this is definitely that year where, as much as I love Keenan Allen, I think this is a year where they kind of switch of who's a wide receiver one and who's the complimentary guy. But I think they're both be great.
Yeah, you don't pay a man. Yeah, I mean you don't pay him to come back just to be second fiddle at that point. I feel like you paid him to come back to be part of y'all's future.
Yeah, that Keenan Allen going in the early third and Mike Williams going where he's going. I think, I'd take Mike Williams over Keenan Allen right now. To be honest, right now.
I would too, bro. Out of those two receivers, I'm targeting Mike Williams.
So that being said, we're doing these are targets and fades. This is compared to their ADP. So just because we rank a certain player above this player doesn't mean that, hey, we want you to reach 2 rounds ahead for this guy. Still play that game, just go a different route, and then maybe reach a few picks before him. That way you can get that value. And the same thing with the fades. We don't completely hate people. Like I don't completely hate Javonte Williams. I'm just not going to take him in the second round. That's just me personally. But another guy that I feel like it's just pure value. It's not even somebody that would really reach for. Fuck, I'm gonna have to do that. I can't find my notes. Fuck. All right, here we go. All right, but speaking of other people that I don't like that. Speaking of target values, Mr. Dalton Schultz, he's currently going to tight end 5, tight end 6 right now, going about the 6th round. It looks like. Obviously, you have Kelsey, you have Mark Andrews, 2 bona fide studs, and then you have that second tier. Personally, I think there's another tier break right there with Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller, and then Kittle. And then if you want, you can throw T.J. Hawkinson and Dalton Schultz in between. So I've seen it go either way. But Dalton Schultz was a tight end 3 last year. I truly feel like he has a great shot to repeating that. This has nothing to do against Darren Waller. I think he's awesome. I think Kyle Pitts is going to be phenomenal. Tight end 1 in dynasty fantasy leagues. And they're I just feel like Dalton Schultz is in a way better situation. Just where he's at, he's already been proven to be trusted by Dak. Obviously, Cooper's gone, Cedric Wilson's gone. They have no Gallup to begin the season. They had CeeDee Lamb and then Tolbert, a rookie wide receiver who he's looking a little shaky. I'm not gonna lie, as a Cowboys fan, he's looking kind of shaky. They even have Pollard, running some wide receiver sets because they're that desperate to have some type of receiving threat. And like Dak showed you last year, he's not afraid to throw it to the tight end. So this is on just pure production. I don't think he's more talented than any of those guys going ahead of him. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying just pure situation. He's going in the 6th round. I'd be willing to take him in the 5th round. I'm not saying to reach for him ahead of Kyle Pitts, but personally, I would wait for those guys to fall off first, and then I'll take my shot on Dalton Schultz if he's there. Depending on the players that are there. If you have Mike Williams sitting there, I'm probably gonna go Mike Williams before Dalton Schultz. But that's just me. I truly feel like he could be the tight end 3 this year. That's how I feel about it. I think all of his yards, his TDs, his targets, his target shares all going to increase this year. So go about that how you will. That's going to be pretty. If you can get a Mark Andrews type jump from what he did 2 years ago to last year, I kind of feel like Schultz is on that spectrum. What you guys think? Or
I agree.
You not worried about Michael Gallup returning, maybe hurting Dalton Schultz's outlook on the season?
Amari Cooper was
I know
there
it's
last
Michael
year.
Gallup. He could. Yeah, I know for sure, and there's a lot of targets with Amari Cooper. But I'm just asking, like with Michael Gallup coming back. I mean, is there any concern?
No, not at all. I'm not saying that he's going to be the second target hog. I'm just saying that just overall of that whole team, they need people to throw to. I don't think that defense is going to be as good as it was last year. So we're going to be playing from behind, unfortunately, most likely. So they're going to have to throw the ball. I think the Cowboys are known. We throw the ball, man. Like those targets are.
Yep.
There's going to be plenty of opportunities there. There's more than enough to go around.
That's what fantasy is. It's talent and opportunity, and he's going to have a ton of opportunity.
Exactly.
You're saying I agree completely.
All right. Exactly. Another guy on our fade list in the first few rounds is Antonio Gibson. I don't think this is a hard one to jump on, right? A hard train to jump on. Nobody's arguing the talent, right? He's a beast. He was an RB in 16 and 17 the last 2 years in fantasy points per game. He ranked 10th in yards route per run, 5th in evaded tackles. The dude's juke rate is off the charts. Nobody is arguing what he can do on the field when he has the ball in his hands. But one of the main issues is, will he have the ball in his hands? He has a huge fumbling problem. This past preseason game, we're recording this on Sunday the
14th.
14th. Just this past game, he put it on the ground, got benched, and basically got sent back out with the second teams. And they drafted a new rookie this year, right? Re-signed J.D. McKissick. They made sure that was a priority. Brian Robinson's a 3rd-round pick. They say he's been looking good in camp. He's been getting a lot of praise. And in that particular preseason game, he only played with the ones and did not come back out on the field. They had Gibson out there the rest of the time. Just FYI. Not to mention, Ron Rivera already said that he's looking to approach the backfield as a running back by committee, kind of D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. So that's already kind of a red flag at where he's going. A lot of people are viewing Antonio Gibson as their RB1 or were, prior maybe a few weeks ago. But now, man, I mean, even in our draft, we were literally doing a slow draft and nobody wanted to pick him up. He fell to the
9th and 10th.
He fell bad. Which has nothing to do with the talent. It's just the situation that he's in, and we just don't trust it.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. That's how I feel about him. I'd rather not have him on my team. If I don't trust you to actually perform, I'd rather go with somebody upside, somebody that could have the full workload, and I don't think he'll be it. Besides Antonio Gibson, who are you fading, Nambo?
Man, there's a couple of people I've been kind of fading, and these round 4 to 7. One of the big ones though is Terry McLaurin, man. I'm really, really nervous. Like, I love me some Terry McLaurin. I think he has just had a horrible, horrible situation where he's at in his career. Like, he's never had consistently good quarterback play. Like, nothing. I mean, he's going into the season this year with freaking Carson Wentz, man. Like, we saw what he kind of did with the Colts last year. Nothing great, bro. Like, nothing great at all. Yeah, he's fast. Wentz has a bigger arm than Heineke did last year, but from what I've heard and kind of been seeing through some of the videos and stuff from off season training camp is Wentz is not accurate, which we already kind of knew that. Like he's kind of overthrown him and underthrown him all over the place in the field. So me personally, I am steering clear of McLaurin altogether. Like he's got the talent 100%, but for me, quarterback play is a huge, huge deal, which it should be with anybody in a wide receiver point. So unless for some reason they get a better upgrade at quarterback, I wouldn't. McLaurin's not even on my list to draft on my team this year. Honestly, I'm steering clear of that whole Redskins wide receiving core.
I mean,
I would take him if he dropped far enough. I mean, where he's going, I completely agree. Yeah, I'm fading him right there. But if he's able to drop, a few rounds, I take him. I feel pretty good about it. Carson Wentz is not accurate. I mean, I just named off all the stats earlier. He's pretty bad. But Michael Pittman did finish as a 17, so he has McLaurin can produce, but it's probably gonna be iffy. Like a lot of real inconsistent. Like I said, if he was like my third or fourth, if he was like my fourth wide receiver, I feel good about it.
I mean, you got right now. He's technically going ahead of like DJ Moore, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Mike Williams, even in some drafts.
Yeah.
All those people, I'm taking every single one of those over McLaurin. Brandon Cooks. Hell, I'd even take a shot with Chris Godwin over Terry McLaurin, honestly, with his question mark to even start the season. Like, I would consider taking Chris Godwin over Terry McLaurin, but that's just me. Like I said, I don't like the quarterback play at all.
I got him ranked behind Gabriel Davis.
I'm not going to fight you too hard on that, but let's be honest. This is definitely McLaurin's best quarterback, by far that he's ever had. So
it is
as much as bad as Wentz is, he's still an upgrade to McLaurin. Just something to think about.
He is. Yeah, no, he is. But it's
But he's never his highest finish on the season's been the wide receiver 22. Yeah. Nah, I'm not taking him where he's being drafted at.
Yeah, no.
There's too many better options at that spot to go ahead and grab than taking a chance or a risk on McLaurin just going ape shit this season and him and Wentz having some like magical chemistry to just.
I don't think it even has to be that.
Every defense.
Like he's proven that he can produce with more than subpar quarterback play though. But I agree. I would take most of those guys ahead of him for sure. All right, so let's go into our next round of targets. How about that? Christian, who are you targeting in this next few rounds?
Yeah, in these rounds I'm targeting Brandon Aiyuk. He's an easy target for me. I mean, he's being taken as the 39th wide receiver off the board, which I think is crazy. Last season he was being taken as the 23rd wide receiver off the board. Like that's a huge gap right there. Now, with that being said, he did finish the wide receiver 35, but it was really only because he was in the doghouse for the first half of the season. As soon as he got out of the doghouse, he turned up. He was, weeks 8 through 18, he started seeing a 90% snap rate. He was the wide receiver 16 on the season. He was averaging 13 points per game. The season before that, he was averaging 15 and a half. Going into this season, it's very safe to say he is nowhere near the doghouse. He has been the star in camp. He's been getting praise from everybody in San Francisco, coaches, players, beat writers. Me. I'm all in on him. I'm not like just comfortable, with him being my, third or fourth guy. I'm excited if I'm getting him as my third or fourth wide receiver. I feel like he has the ability to be really, really good this year.
Oh, for sure. He definitely has that talent, but it's just like for some reason it just hasn't all came together yet. But he's still super young. Somebody who are you liking in these 7 through Nabo? Yeah, 7 through
Me?
9.
Oh yeah. So Michael Thomas, bro. I am in love with Michael Thomas this year. Like, yeah, he's been kind of shaky the last what was it, last year, and we really haven't got to see what he's gonna be like without Drew Brees. But then again, this is Michael Thomas we're talking about, so like he's been a top one draft pick since he first came into the league. In 2020, when he did play from weeks 11 through 14, he commanded 33% of the target share, averaged 2.86 yards per route, which has actually marked his career best. So if he stays healthy all season and Jameis Winston does somewhat of Jameis Winston things, which Jameis Winston loves to throw the ball to the good player, which would be Michael Thomas, he's gonna be a mad steal at his ADP, man. Like, I mean, what's so funny, bro?
I was gonna say,
Jameis Winston.
I was gonna say, side note, he also likes throwing it to the good player on the other team as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know he does. That's why I take that with a grain of salt, I guess you could say, if that makes sense. But no, I think Michael Thomas is gonna have a hell of a year if he can stay fully healthy. I mean, he's gonna finish. I mean, he could easily finish top 10 wide receiver, and where he's going for between the 7th and 9th round, like that's a hell of a steal for the amount of upside he's carrying going into the season.
I completely agree.
I feel like he's more just being slept on based off of last year and all the drama that was going in and out with him not wanting to play for the Saints or whatever it was between him and him and the coaching staff or him and the team or something.
Well, he's kind of CMC, as far as he just hasn't played in 2 years, so that's probably why he's getting faded quite a bit. But it's August 14th. I'm pretty sure his ADP is going to climb by then.
Yeah,
in a few weeks, maybe not a lot, but definitely for sure. There's no reason not to think that he couldn't at least somewhat produce to what he used to be. So he's an absolute steal where he's going. I was definitely somebody I was targeting in our slow draft, but
he got sniped.
I was being naive. Nah, there's so many good. I mean that 5 to 6 rounds, like 5, 6, 7. There's so many good wide receivers going right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I get he carries a giant question mark, so it's like it's hard to take him over certain players. But I'm in love with the upside he's carrying going into the season.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. He's finished as the wide receiver 1 before,
Yeah.
So yeah, he has.
Like, you can't ignore that.
No, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
that's why I think his ADP is gonna jump. As like more casual fans start getting into the fantasy season, you'll see that. Another wide receiver that is kind of the opposite spectrum is a kind of an unknown commodity as far as what he's been able to produce on the NFL field, is a Rashod Bateman, man. Obviously, he's currently going in like the mid to late 7th round. To me, he's an absolute steal and a potential league winner. He's going behind players like Tyler Lockett, Cordell Patterson, a whole bunch of later QBs and tight ends. Like I'll fade all those guys and take my chances with Rashod Bateman. With the departure of 146 targets, aka 23% target share, and Marquise Brown, he should get a lot of play. The Ravens were comfortable making that trade and saying that Rashod Bateman is our wide receiver 1 with the minimal amount of time he had on the field last year, and without Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? And not to mention, just a side note, Marquise Brown, I know his name's Marquise. I say that because Turtle pronounces his name Marquise. Marquise Brown, he left a lot of fantasy points on the field last year. Like he has a drop problems. Rashod Bateman, I don't. That's not going to happen. He had 2 drops total last year, so he's got the boy got some hands. So I think that's another reason they were willing to move on. Of course, the Ravens don't throw a lot, right? That's gonna the backlash that you're gonna get. But there's literally only 2 receiving options on that team, Andrews and Bateman. And then what's the second wide receiver over there? What's his name?
Duvernay.
And who else? Yeah, exactly my point. Nobody who? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So when they do throw the ball, and they'll have to throw it to Andrews or Bateman. Like Lamar is more than comfortable hyper targeting his go-to players, which is why we saw Marquise Brown had a career year last year and Mark Andrews. Not to mention, that was also with a year that Lamar Jackson wasn't completely healthy. He did get hurt last year. You saw a lot of Tyler Huntley last year, who filled in admirably, by the way, but he's not Lamar Jackson. I think this is definitely a bounce back season for Lamar Jackson, and I think Rashod Bateman and Mark Andrews have a lot to do with it. If you could get that 3 stack, I would not be opposed to doing that. If you can somehow work that, I think you'll be maybe winning some leagues with that stack. To me, Bateman's a stud. He was a first-round pick for the Ravens. He had 1,500 yards and 21 touchdowns his senior year in college. So this complete stud. Player Profiler has him compared to a Mr. Stephon Diggs. The dude has footwork. He's quick off the line. He gets open and he got hands, man. He's deceptively quick. Like he'll make people look foolish. Mark Andrews is already raving about how good this guy is looking in camp. I cannot wait to get as many shares of this guy as I can. Personally, I think he's going to be a beast. So,
I agree.
y'all got any thoughts on him, or y'all want to move on, man?
I mean, I feel like with the leagues that I'm in with you, I'm gonna have to reach for him, and I have no problem with that because I know you're going to. Matt Harmon, this is one of the guys, and he has a huge sight on wide receivers. This is one of the guys that he's highest on this year. He's in the elite of the elite in route running. And yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
Do not snooze on this man. Is that all the targets? That sure is.
Yeah,
that's all the targets for this round, right? Yep. Yeah, don't snooze on this man. People you should snooze on. I mean, like, turn off your alarm if you have to. Is a couple guys, right? Right, Nambo? Like
Oh yeah. One man I'm snoozing on hard, and I mean hard, is Mr. Tyler Lockett, bro. I get a lot of people are kind of big fans of him. He's been like to me, he's always been kind of like a boomer bust every type of week in a roundabout way. But the big deal this year is he is in a dumpster fire of a offense when it comes to their quarterbacks. He's got Drew Lock and Geno Smith throwing in the ball. So that right there is a big deal to me. Like I wouldn't trust any of those as quarterbacks to be throwing me the ball. So like, me personally, I'm fading every receiver on the Seahawks. Even DK is as monster of a player he is, but I'm not even. I would highly recommend not even to draft Tyler Lockett, even if they were. I mean, with the big rumors of them picking up Jimmy G, maybe at some point if he ever gets cut from the 49ers, like but you can't draft Tyler Lockett with just a hope of maybe they pick up Jimmy G. I mean, last year without Wilson, he had 9 points a game. I don't know if that warrants drafting, in my opinion, for some measly 9 points to maybe plug into my flex every once in a while. So I'm fading hard on some Tyler Lockett.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. There are rumors that he may get traded, or they're trying to trade one of them. But until it actually happens, I'm good keeping him off my team, man.
I mean, he turns 30 this year, so he's. I don't know. I think he's on the down end of his career.
I remember when he was like first coming in the league, and he was like the new young fast guy. Like he was replacing like
Yeah.
Doug Baldwin and Golden Tate and those guys.
Yo,
That shit
Damn,
was-
it don't seem like that was that long ago.
bro,
Yeah,
we getting old as hell. We getting old as
for
hell.
real.
Yeah, what the hell?
Like, put it in
Damn,
this perspective. Like, it's Lockett's turning 30 this year, so am I. So like, we both getting in the decline of our highlight of our best years.
I think he's had a better life though.
Oh yeah,
In my
yeah. I
prime, I don't know
mean,
what you talking about.
Hall of fucking football player right there, professional football player. Yeah, he's had a better life. If only I was born so lucky to be that athletic.
No, yeah, no, but for sure, man, that's somebody I'm okay with not having on my team. If he turns out to be okay, I'll live with that decision.
Oh yeah, but I'm
All
not
right,
touching.
but who are you trying to fade, Christian?
I'm fading Dallas Goedert in the 7th, and it's not even close to an option for me in the 7th round to grab him. He finishes the tight end 8 on the year. He is the guy in Philly. There's no Ertz no more. He's playing 90% or better of the snaps, seeing about 6 targets per game. He's really talented. You know, he finished with the second most yards per receptions out of the tight ends that finished top 10. But you know, even when we thinking that they're gonna throw the ball more in Philly this year, the addition of AJ Brown really caps Goddard, and I don't see him getting enough opportunity to take that leap into the next tier of tight ends. Um, he's a great talent for NFL real football, but fantasy wise, he's forgettable. You know, he'll have some boom games, but they're gonna be few and far between. Last year, he had only 4 top 6 tight end finishes at position on the year. He was averaging 11 points per game, and those 11 points really came from those boom games he had. But more than anything, I'm fading him because of that position. If I'm gonna get one of those top 4 or 5 guys, I'm pretty much fading that entire position until the later rounds, unless there's like some huge run of tight ends at that point in the draft. But he's an easy fade at that ADP.
Yeah, so I don't completely disagree with that. The only thing is I think the person that's gonna hurt the most with the AJ Brown is Devonta Smith. So I still think Goddard's gonna be serviceable. Obviously, probably not type. He's not gonna be a top 5 tight end, but I think that's somebody you can still plug in and get your. I mean, let's be real. If you don't have the top 4 or 5 tight ends, your tight end's gonna get. You're happy with like 8 to 10 points, and you think that's a solid week.
You're streaming tight end at that point, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd plug him in every week if he's getting me 8 to 10 points. I mean, that's about what you're hoping that you get off the wire. Is Zambo on here?
Zambo is gone.
Because we never got to do tight ends, and Goddard was one of my guys.
he had
Yeah.
No, it actually wasn't that
Goddard,
bad.
I have him at tight end 9, FYI.
Oh, I have him at 7, but I haven't dug deep into him like that.
Oh shit! You talking like
Well, nah, man. I got him at 7, but he said that little tier of tight ends right now, I'm not picking up unless they drop. Because that, especially Goddard.
Yeah.
Goddard's going in that tier of tight ends for me. He's going a few rounds ahead of the other guys in that tier. Like, why? I'm not spending draft capital on him when I can get someone else a couple rounds later.
Yeah, I'm talking about just strictly as far as the tight end, just the tight end position. After those initial 4 or 5 guys, like I'm going at least round 9 to 10 before I even think about taking a tight end.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So guys, I'd much rather you take a receiver or a running back or a quarterback over any of those other tight ends that are falling in that range.
Yep.
Maybe even a David Montgomery. I don't know. But
yes,
more people were fading around in this. What rounds are we doing?
7 through 9.
7 through 9. It's another guy it was freaking huge last year. Was Hunter Renfrow. He was wide receiver 10 last year. He was an absolute PPR and TD machine. Just bear with me. I'm moving the screen. Okay. Especially towards the end of the season. I mean, he's a fantastic football player. I take nothing away from him. The dude can ball. I'd take him on the Cowboys any day of the week. But if you missed out on him last year, then I think you missed your chance for any great potential fantasy season from him. Barring injury to other stars on that team, obviously, right? I can confidently say that he will never have another season like he did last year. I mean, do you guys agree or disagree with that take?
Mambo's itching
I
over
agree.
here.
I mean, I agree he won't repeat last season, but I don't think you should fade him as hard as you say you should fade him. Like, Hunter
Well, where
Renfrow is
would
still
you
gonna
take
get
Cole
targets,
Beasley?
bro. I mean, you can't
Well, let me
relate the
finish my
two
take, and then
because
you can come in with your rebuttal.
because Cole
We
Beasley, I don't
we
think
all
has
know
a
what
finished
happened
wide
to Ruggs
receiver.
last year, right? Like I said, he started producing towards the end of the season because at first to start the season, he was kind of in that 10, 11, 12 range of PPR points, full PPR points we're talking about here. And then after we all know what happened with Ruggs, right? Bryan Edwards did not turn out who they thought he would be. Where is he now? He's somewhere else. He's in some other lottery pick. I mean,
He's in
top
Atlanta, I think.
He got
draft.
injured.
Yeah, he's in another. No, he doesn't play with the Raiders anymore though.
No, I know, but he
I
got
think he might be
injured.
with Atlanta.
Yeah, I think it's Atlanta.
Yeah.
And of course, not to mention Darren Waller was hurt last year, right? Who else was he gonna throw to over there? It was Hunter Renfrow, which he was doing work. Like I said, he earned every target he got for sure, 100%. I'm not arguing that. The dude's he's a football player first and foremost. But now they have Davante Adams, he's gonna command, I would say, at least 25% target share, and that may be on the low side. I think they didn't bring him in and pay him all that money to not use him. You have a healthy Darren Waller returning, who's a big body, who is actually Derek Carr's initial target hog, right? I just feel like the path for Renfrow to produce has dwindled significantly. Like I said, I'm not shitting on his talent. This is strictly speaking fantasy. I feel like he's the Cole Beasley. He's more Cole Beasley than he is Julian Edelman with healthy weapons around him. He's currently going in the late 6th, early 7th round. Ahead of receivers like Gabe Davis, Juju, Elijah Moore, Brandon Aiyuk, Devontae Smith, Rashod Bateman. Like, nah, I'm good, man. I'd rather even Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard. Like, I'll take a stab at those running backs before I touch Hunter Renfrow. Even Melvin Gordon, he's going there too. Now, that being said, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Waller gets hurt again. He is getting up in age. That I'm not going to say this is 100% is what going to happen. It's just as far as all these players fully healthy going into the season with elite offensive weapons around him, I just don't see it unless, like I said, unless there's some type of huge injury and that they have to lean on him again. He's kind of the opposite of how I feel about Schultz. He's just a product of his situation. I just think Renfro's on the opposite spectrum.
Yeah.
Go ahead now, but what you got?
I don't think he'll be as irrelevant as you seem to think he will be, with just based off the system that he's going to be playing in this year. He's playing in a Patriots-esque system. They like to throw it to the slot guy. That's my main basis off of that. Is like it's going to be him. And yes, with a healthy Waller and Davante Adams, he's not going to repeat the season he had last year. But he's not going to be irrelevant. Like I'm not taking him over Gabe Davis, but I'm probably taking him over Brandon Aiyuk and all those other guys you said.
Rashod Bateman.
Oh yeah.
Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard, Chase Edmonds, Melvin Gordon.
With the exception of maybe Chase Edmonds, yes.
How you feel about him, Christian?
Yeah, I haven't dug too deep into Hunter Renfrow. I felt decent about him until I just heard all the players that he's going around, and I'm in agreement with you. Like I'm taking Gabe Davis, Rashod Bateman without a doubt, and really all those players before I'm taking him. I think that he could have a decent year, but going around those guys,
Yeah, he'll be.
yeah, no, I'd fade him right there too. Oh, I'd pick those guys over him.
Yeah, I think he'll be a late wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 4, a high end wide receiver 4, something like that. I just barring injury, it ain't happening, man.
Yeah.
They're there to win. They're not there to just chuck it. But whatever. But going into our later rounds, I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's it. Going into our later rounds, we're not going to go too much into fades because you can literally fade all these players if you want. But there's definitely some gems in here. Who do you got a hunch about, Christian?
I don't know if I'd call him a gem, but it's definitely someone that I would.
He's gonna end up on your team, right?
I'll grab him if he's there with like my last pick or something like that. Right now, he's being undrafted a lot of times. He's going as the 68th wide receiver off the board. It is Robbie Anderson. Now I'm really just trying to grab him right there. He could end up off my team week 2. But going based off of maybe last season was a fluke due to the terrible play of Darnold. The year before that, he finished as a low-end wide receiver 2. He was averaging 14 points per game, had 1,100 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't think that he's a league winner, by no means. But if I can find some flex appeal value with my last pick, yeah, I'm gonna take a shot on that. And that's why I'm gonna be targeting that guy at the very end.
I could tell you he would definitely be there for you to target any round you want. I don't see him getting drafted too often, if at all. So he will be there, guys. And if Robbie Anderson becomes relevant, then you got Christian to thank.
Right.
But who are you targeting?
I'm targeting for
some deep sleeper.
Man, excuse the mispronunciation if I do of this man's name, but Tyler Algeier.
Algeier? I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good.
I think he is a sneaky late round pick. He is kind of climbing in some of the ADPs, just based off of the first preseason game. But in college, the dude was a monster. Like first in yards after contact, second in touchdowns. Like he had over 200 carries in a season. Like the dude is a legitimate workhorse. And he's coming into a backfield that has Cordell Patterson and Dameon Williams, right? Cordell for sure will probably eat into, he's definitely the starter over there, but he is getting up there in age. They've already come out and said they're going to try to limit his snaps somewhat compared to last year. And Algier's upside is just too high in those later rounds to take. I mean, if he takes over the lead back role, like automatic 200 plus carries on the season that he's going to get, and volumes all you want with somebody that's posted 1,600 rushing yards last year in college. I want somebody like that on my team, especially if you're getting them in the later rounds, towards the 11th, 12th, 13th round. Like, I mean, to potentially have a high upside running back like that who's going that low, yeah, I'm good. He's one of the top running backs on my list that I'm targeting in those later rounds. Just because the upside he carries.
Double-digit rounds.
Yeah, the upside he carries is just too massive to ignore.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying. These are just guys that with high upside that you should probably stack on your team just to see if something happens. Obviously, we're not guaranteeing anything, but they have the best shot and have a good outlook. Another guy that I just took Tyler Algier.
I know you did. It made me
in
mad.
The 10th round here in our slow draft.
He was my guy in this round, and you sniped him from me.
I may not have. Yeah, I know. But that's why, I'm gonna get, especially in the double digit rounds, like you could throw ADP out the window, get the guys that you think are gonna be good and who you feel can contribute to your fantasy team, or may even have a high upside shot to do something. Like don't play it safe. Like, hey, I know this guy's he's gonna get some touches. He's a receiving role back, so he might play. Like I think those guys
at those
To me,
rounds.
that's how I approach my draft. Like, I really don't care about the JD McKissick's or Naheem Hines type guys. Like, oh, cool. I don't see you're not going to take over that role if the starting running back gets hurt. You're there to grab some catches. You're the guy that I'll plug in. Like, I'm not going to win a championship plugging you in. You're not going to save my season. That's the way I go about my later rounds personally. Yeah, you'll get me through some weeks. You may get a 10, 15 point week, and I'm like, oh, cool. He produced this year. This week he got a touchdown. That's awesome. Personally, I'm looking for somebody who's going to win me a league. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And handcuffs. Those are also people. Like, if you have Dalvin Cook, Madison, other people like that, besides the handcuffs, that's who I'm targeting in those later rounds. Another guy that's just kind of recently getting a lot of hype, and I think he may be even moving up. I actually took him in the 9th round because I'm getting kind of excited about this dude. Is Dameon Pierce out of Houston. So he's still currently 3rd on the depth chart. This is August 14th. We'll see how it plays. These are later rounds, so if he doesn't pan out the way I feel he is, these are droppable players, right? You could just go to your waiver wire, make a pivot, make a move. You don't have to stick to these guys. That's the beauty of it. That's why I go for the high upside guys. But he's been getting a lot of hype in camp. He's been out producing Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead. That's his competition right now. I think that Houston offense is I'm not going to say they're going to go to the playoffs or anything, but I think that offense is going to be a lot better than people think. I think Davis Mills is a little bit better than what people think. Brandon Cooks is out there. Nico Collins, another guy that maybe you want to take in maybe your last pick. I think that's somebody you can look at. And Dameon Pierce, he looks like he has a lot of juice. He was PFF's number 1 running back coming out of FBS last year, as far as in college. He looks good. You just see him run his highlights. And what really put it over to me was his runs in the last preseason game. I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm taking this guy because I think he has that path to the number 1 running back spot. People in Houston are comparing him to a Mr. Arian Foster, who was also a late round undrafted guy. I am willing to take a bet on him. Like I said, I got him in the 9th round, 9th, 10th round, whatever. I don't care. I'll take these guys over either a handcuff or one of those 5th or 6th wide receivers that are going in this range that may or may not get play. So that's kind of how I go about it. So Dameon Pierce, man, I really like this kid. We'll see how it goes. I think he's going to move up the depth chart. Then he'll probably get that starting running back position not too far into the season. I think Marlon Mack will probably start for the Texans, but I don't think he's going to hold it down. He doesn't have the juice. Have anybody else that kind of comes to mind? I mean, y'all don't have to go into a deep detail, but if y'all want to just throw out some names real quick or people that you're just completely staying away from. I don't know how much time we got left, but
just a little small thing, bro, that I think could be a really good deal for the Green Bay Packers is Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs, bro.
Romeo Doubs.
Just a name to kind of keep in the back of your head, bro. I think he's gonna fit in well with Rodgers.
He's getting hype right now.
Yeah, he's definitely in my queue for this slow draft we're doing. I have a whole bunch of people in my queue right now, but the Romeo Doubs is getting a lot of hype right now. They have. I mean, I guess Allen Lazard's going to be that number 1 wide receiver, and then it's kind of, I don't take your pick of, because I don't think Sammy Watkins is going to hold that down. He's not going to be healthy enough to hold that.
He'll be good week
down.
1.
But they did draft Christian Watson, but Rodgers doesn't care where you were drafted. If you're not producing for him, then he ain't gonna throw it to you. Nah. And here's Christian with our trivia question in the show. What you got, Christian?
In the last 10 years, who do you think has had the most targets in a single season, and how many?
How many?
Yeah, well, let's try to get in a range. We'll see who gets closer.
Cooper Kupp last year.
Cooper Kupp, no, not it. I'll give you.
My shit's frozen, so I'm not even gonna be in here.
He is not an active player.
He's not an active player?
Calvin Johnson.
There you go.
There it is. Calvin Johnson. All right, do you want to guess how many?
Damn, I'm a fucking beast, bro. Get
Damn,
off
man,
me,
I'm good at
son.
this.
And I'm not even being fucking.
And that's your targets and fades this week. I hope you learned something. Remember, stay away from Hunter Renfrow at his ADP. You will be sorry. That's DFDUBB Scrubs for me, Christian, Nambo, and Turtle in the background. We'll holla at you next week. Peace.
Monster, bro. Calvin Johnson. That dude was
Yeah, bro.
DFDUBB Scrubs coming up.
I froze up.
DFDUBB Scrubs get the dubs. DFDUBB Scrubs is the plug. DFDUBB Scrubs showing love.